Hi, I'm Justin. Welcome back to Just Shaves. For this video, I'll be highlighting and comparing two budget-friendly RazoRock offerings. First one is the RazoRock MJ-90. This is CNC machined head, and they pair it with a stainless steel handle for $40. Also at $40 is the original RazoRock Lupo, which is solid aluminum, also CNC machined. Before getting into comparison, I wanted to provide a little bit of background behind these two razors and point out what I think RazoRock was trying to accomplish with the design. So starting out, we have the MJ-90A. This one's modeled after the Edwin Jagger 89, and they're kind of pointing to that with the name. So 90 is one more than 89. They're pointing right to where they got their design from. The Edwin Jagger 89, also the Mueller 89, those are very popular Zamic injection molded razors, which basically means they melt down all the metal and then they fit it into molds to make the heads. What they were trying to accomplish at RazoRock was saying, hey, we can take that similar design, but we can give it to you with tighter machining tolerances with our CNC machined head. So the head, again, is made out of aluminum because it's a more affordable metal to machine through. And then they pair it with the stainless steel handle to give it the same heft that a standard Zamic razor would have had. So this one on my kitchen scale comes in at 89 grams. And again, the head, the tolerances are just gonna be a lot better. You're not gonna have any issues with blade alignment. Also with the threads being aluminum and going onto a stainless steel handle, there's not gonna be as much of a longevity concern on that front as well. When this was initially released, they had just the MJ-90, which supposedly had a smaller blade gap and exposure compared to the one they offer today, so it was a milder razor. This one, the MJ-90A, they updated it to have a larger gap and exposure to put it into the medium category. So they don't publish the specs for these razors, so I don't have the blade gap or exposure, but it's in the medium category, and they have their own tier on their Italian Barber website. So awesome razor here, comes in at $40. If you were to go with an Edwin Jagger razor, you'd be paying about that, possibly as high as $50. So tighter tolerances at less dollars is what they were trying to accomplish here. The other one, RazoRock Lupo, with the name, they're also pointing to where they're getting their inspiration from. This one's modeled after the Wolfman WR1. So with this one, again, I don't think they were trying to directly compete with the Wolfman razors because those ones cost hundreds of dollars. What they were trying to say was, hey, we can functionally deliver a very similarly performing product at a much lower cost. So again, is this $40 razor gonna beat a $400 razor? No, and it's not really supposed to. Like what they're saying here is we can still deliver an excellent value and an excellent shave. And we can do that with our tighter tolerances, and then using aluminum also keeps the cost down. So this is really just trying to provide excellent value. So they're trying to provide a good functioning razor at a good cost. This one, I think, again, they originally released it in aluminum. They later brought out a few stainless steel options off the top of my head, and I've tried a good chunk of the stainless steel ones as well, but they offer it in a number of blade gaps, and they also have, open comb, straight comb offerings. But this was the original one that they tried out, had a lot of popularity, and it kind of inspired them to expand this Lupo line quite a bit. This one, for me, was my first aluminum razor. I bought it just because I was buying an extra base plate for my RazoRock Game Changer, and I was looking for something else to bump it up, so I got free shipping, and I picked this $40 razor, and it's been one of my favorites. It really opened my eyes to the whole world of aluminum razors, and once I was using this, it kind of inspired me to keep trying out more aluminum razors. This one on my scale comes in at like 30 grams, so this is even lighter than most other aluminum razors. But with that, main differences you're gonna see here between these two, obviously the head design is different, but the main one's gonna come from the handle that gets included. This one is supposed to have some heft to it because they're pairing it with the stainless steel handle. This one is just one of the lightest razors out there, coming in at around 30 grams. Most of my other aluminum razors are like 35 to 40, so this is very much on the lighter end of things. But With that, I'll pause right here. I'll get lathered up and I'm gonna jump into a side-by-side comparison of these two. All right, I'm back and all lathered up for my first pass. Two razors again, MJ-90A by RazoRock and the RazoRock Lupo. I have two, I think, second use Gillette Nasset blades in here. I use the MJ-90A on my right side, Lupo on my left side. So let's jump right into it. And very smooth shaving razor. Compared to other aluminum razors, this one's gonna have just a little bit more assistance from the weight of the stainless steel handle. Of course, you can put a stainless steel handle on any aluminum razor to create the same effect. Very smooth, little bit of blade fill, but not a lot for how efficient it is. This is really just an easy to pick up, easy to use razor. I would put this in the beginner friendly category. Okay. Save the back of my head, but I'll cut over to the Lupo on the left side now. So this isn't my most efficient razor, but it does have quite a bit of blade feel. The best comparison I can think of, really just in feels, maybe the Timeless aluminum. They feel different because they have a different shaped head and also a very different handle, but just the blade feel to efficiency ratio feels about the same. This one's just incredibly nimble, easy to move around because of how light it is. One of the downsides with this razor, as with other aluminum razors, is when you have a lot of growth, it kind of takes a little bit of force and momentum to get the razor going. I'm going off of just over a day's worth of growth here, so far this is working pretty well. And one of my overall favorite things about this razor is, although it doesn't give me my closest shave, it never leaves me with any irritation. So this is always one of the razors I'd be quick to pick up if I had had a rough shave the day before, or if I was kind of, want to have a quick, fun shave without very many consequences. This would be a razor I would turn to. Okay, so I'm gonna cut over to the back of the head real quick. I'm just gonna touch up the lather. Go. So between the two, I definitely say this MJ-90A is the smoother shaving of the two. And I'll know a little bit better at the end of the shave, but I remember this one also being a little bit more efficient, so smoother and more efficient. Okay. And this Lupo is the lightest razor in my collection anyways. Remember when I first took it out of the packaging, it felt like I was holding one of my kids' Happy Meal toys. It does take a little getting used to if you're used to heavier razors, especially with it like already being aluminum. It's on the lighter end of aluminum razors as well. But it's doing pretty well here. There is quite a bit of blade feel. Like at no point do I not know where the blade is. Okay. All right, solid first pass so far. I'll pause right here and I'll get relathered for the second one. All right, lathered up for the second pass. I will pause to highlight the soap I'm using today. This was actually the RazoRock XXX. This one I got about 2 years ago in that same order I got the Lupo in, and Lately I've been experimenting so much. This one kind of ended up at the bottom of my cabinet and I kind of forgot about it, but revisiting it, this is one of the better lathering soaps I have so far. Also, I pair it with this RazoRock. This is their 400 series brush. This is my favorite brush. This is the one you'll see me using in most of my videos. I've collected maybe 5 other brushes, but when I want a reliable lather, this is the one I turn to. So highly recommend checking those ones out if you're interested in these razors as well. Just throw it into the same order. It's, you know, if I had $100 to start a razor collection, I think the Italian barber site would be the first place I would go. And it was for me, let's see, I did King C Gillette was my first razor, then the Rockwell 6C, and then I kind of broke into the RazoRock scene, got the Game Changer, the Lupo, and had a whole lot of fun experimenting with those. And really, now that I've moved on to more higher end, more expensive razors, I can say there wasn't really much of a drop off with these RazoRock razors. But without further ado, I'll jump into the second pass here. So as much as I have a soft spot for the RazoRock Lupo, I really think this MJ-90 is working very, very well for me. And the design's simple, but it's also like a very tested over time design. Like the Edwin Jagger and the Mueller 89 stayed as popular as they have all those years because of how well it's designed. And then instead of deviating from all the good things, they just kind of added some tweaks to it with the RazoRock one. Other times I've used this razor because, again, I really like the lightness of aluminum razors. I've paired it with other aluminum handles and had a great time with that as well. But I will say using this with the stainless steel handle works very well as well. Okay, on to the Lupo. So this works very well for me. Not as smooth shaving as the MJ-90, and there's also more blade feel as you're using it. But I'd probably give a slight edge to the Lupo in the fun category and also in the maneuverability category. This is just a really fun razor to pick up. Quickly relather the back of the head. And if I could sum up the entire RazoRock brand with one word, it's value. These aren't cheap offerings, but everything they do is with a very good quality, and they try to do it at a price that makes it approachable for the average person. So again, I think, you know, the spot they have on our market is very important, especially with all the new shavers jumping in, not sure where to start. If I had one knock against RazoRock, I think they just have so many offerings. It's tough to figure out exactly what's the right one for you. Even just taking the Lupo, for instance, like they moved on to having a stainless steel offering, and there's like over 10 different base plate options once you're factoring in the different gaps and the open comb, closed comb, and they do that for a lot of their razors. So the downside is it might take some trial and error to find the perfect RazoRock razor for you, but I do think they make something for everyone. And one thing with the more affordable ones is you can kind of afford to do the trial and error process. And maybe you already have your razor collection and you love what you have, but you just want to add some variety. You know, these two razors are a really fun way of doing that. for me, this MJ-90 is beating the Lupo in comfort so far. The Lupo, they have on their scale of efficiency, they have a chart where they rank some of their razors on the Italian barber site. The Lupo they have on the mild to medium category. So it's not even supposed to be as efficient as the MJ-90, and the MJ-90 is more comfortable in my opinion. And it's hard to do an apples to apples comparison because, you know, we're talking about close to a 60-gram weight difference in the razors between this one being all aluminum and this one having the stainless steel handle. But I'll pause really quickly, I'll rinse off, and I'll be back with my final thoughts. All right, back with my final thoughts. Overall, as much as this Lupo's, you know, one of my favorite razors, I think the MJ-90 beat it in both closeness and comfort during the shave. If I were to give an advantage anywhere to the Lupo, it's probably just with, you know, the fun factor. Like, this feels so different than other razors because of how light it is, coming in at 30 grams. And then also the maneuverability of it. Handle, I don't have any issues with it at all. It's just very easy to move around. The head profile is also very, very slim and easy to kind of get into the nooks and crannies. Whereas this one, you know, the MJ-90 it works very well, but it does have a larger head. So that's something to factor in as well. If you're comparing the two, I think the main difference is really just going to come down to the stainless steel handle. So at the end of the day, it's a question of what it is you're looking for. You know, if you already have some stainless steel handles on your in your collection, you can still try the Lupo with the stainless steel handle to get the same effect. Or conversely, if you really love the lighter weight of aluminums, you can swap this one out for an aluminum handle like I do. But at the end of the day, I think these are both worth trying, especially at the price point of $40. I think that's really tough to beat in today's market. But overall, I love both of these razors. I think today the MJ-90A ended up edging out the Lupo for me. So with that, we'll call this one job well done. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you.